Today, I'm going to talk about the creator economy. But before I get talking about that, what I want to do is kind of rewind a little bit and talk about when I presented the strategic plan. And in that plan, I talked about a blockchain for creators. And I maybe had 2 slides in there with some very high level details. And I am very appreciative of this community that they sort of trusted me on those 2 slides, which were, at like 50,000 feet. They lacked a lot of detail on how exactly are we going to create and succeed with this blockchain for creators. Now, fast forward to today, and we are starting to formulate the DAO. We're getting, team members in place, etc. It's a journey. It's gonna take some time to get there. But one of the most important things for the team to do right now is to be aligned on the vision. And a strategy deck at 50,000 feet is not enough for a team to get aligned and to actually execute, right? So we have to get down to a lower elevation, and we have to get details into place. So what I'm going to present today is extremely raw. We just got the brand done, etc. This is not completely branded or anything. This is raw information, but it's well organized, and it is intended to communicate to you how we're going to make this blockchain for creators happen. It's going to give a lot of detail, and I hope that at the end of this presentation, you will feel even more confident about our ability to execute on this and make this a world-class protocol, a world-class project, a world-class ecosystem that we can all be proud of, and that is sort of going to be the future for creators in Web3. So that's my goal for today, to present this very raw, like literally been working on this for the past 72 hours, haven't slept, and got some input yesterday from our team members. They gave some good insights. I've adapted accordingly and ready to go. So the topic is the creator economy with Vitruveo. I put my whole presentation online. So it's at that tinyurl.com/vitruveo-creator-ama. So you can go ahead, read it all ahead of me. But I'm going to add a fair bit of color as we go along. So it will help to move along with the presentation. All right, with that out of the way, let's just get going. So the first thing I like to do when trying to talk about a product, which is what this is all about, is really very crisply and clearly identify the problem. So the problem is that today in the world of Web3 and NFTs, the existing solutions for digital art collectibles are broken. Question is why? How? What's broken about it? Well, let's explore. So the first problem is that there is no creator or artwork verification. It is a free-for-all. Anyone can post an NFT, put any price on it. Someone can come and buy it. There is no way to verify if the artwork that was posted as an NFT was in fact created by the creator. There is no way to verify that the artwork is in fact an original. It was not copied from somewhere. There's no way to know if the creator is a genuine person as they claim to be in their profile, or if they're a scammer or a team of scammers. All these problems exist, and there is no solution to it in sight. Second problem, right now, artists have no mechanism by which they can communicate the licensing or their royalty requirements for the artworks that they put on chain. There isn't any mechanism. The existing standards of ERC 721 and ERC 1155 literally just assume that you're going to have a token, it has an ID, and everything else is stored off-chain typically on durable storage like IPFS or RWeave or something, but there is no standard around it. So it's anyone can do anything they want, and there isn't any way to enforce licensing. There are some standards being developed for around royalties, around secondary sales, etc., but it still isn't there at the point where you would call it mature or workable even. Problem number 3, the media assets associated with NFTs or digital art collectibles today are off-chain, and the only thing you have in the contract is a link to that off-chain entity. An artist can post-sale change that. So you might buy a glorious piece of art, but the artist can go in anytime and change that URL and point it to some meme or whatever they want. It doesn't really matter. It's also possible for that to be easily forged. So it's not exactly very confidence inspiring when you pay maybe thousands of dollars for an artwork and you cannot have any assurance that that artwork is in fact authentic and that artwork that is linked will not be changed. So that's a big problem. The next one, this continues to plague not just digital art collectibles, but crypto and Web3 as a whole. The user experience is really, really poor, especially for buyers. The ways that the marketplaces allow buyers and artists to interact is quite weak. I mean, you can have a set price, you can have an auction, you can have reserves, etc. But there's no consistency among all the marketplaces. Some offer some features, some don't offer some features. And at the end of the day, it's buyer beware on whatever is going on there. And it's not exactly conducive to attracting more buyers to the ecosystem. And the proof is right there in the data. The number of new buyers entering the ecosystem is shrinking. And that not all of that can be attributed to the market being down. User experience, or poor user experience, plays a big part in it. The next one is there is absolutely no support or compliance around standards. There exist well-defined, well-researched, and well-adopted standards in the world of artworks, in the world of music, in the world of film, etc. But these are absent. They're nowhere to be seen. There's not even a whiff of them anywhere in the current standards. So this is a problem. What this has resulted in is that traditional artists and art organizations, a large majority of them who are still not in Web3, they don't trust and they don't see any benefits to embracing Web3. That's a fact. That is indisputable. You can ask a majority of traditional artists who are not yet in the space, and they'll essentially just call it, like a plaything or some poo-poo it, essentially. They don't take it very seriously. And they have good reason for it because of the problems I just talked about, right? So we are on a journey to fix that. It's a very, very big task. It's a monumentally large task. It's also a very complex task. But I believe we have the vision, the drive, the community, and the resources to execute and make this happen. Now, in my presentation here today, I'm going to talk about how we're going to make that happen. And I know a large part of the community right now comes at it from the crypto perspective. You're thinking more in terms of the coin and the price and the listing and all those kind of things. But let me just tell you one thing and be very, very clear about it. We can aspire to think about any kind of price, etc., for the token, any kind of coin, but that doesn't mean it will manifest itself. The only way it's going to manifest and have staying power, sustainable, where it doesn't just go down to zero, is if we build something of value. We absolutely must create something that is valuable to the world, because then that translates into value for the token. So indirectly, as I'm talking about all this, in your mind, you should translate that into how can this be valuable to the world, which then translates into value for the token. So indirectly, the concerns, the needs you have to make sure that your investment, you get a return on it. is fulfilled. So this is the only path to it. I know no other path to creating a project that has a successful token, because if there isn't anything of value, there's no reason that the world, the investors, etc., look at that token and go and say, "Oh yeah, this is I'm going to pay for this, pay a high amount for this." It's not going to happen. So this is why it's very important that we go through this exercise, we go through this detail, and really identify how we're going to do this and create significant value. All right. So what are we going to do to address this problem that traditional artists and art organizations don't trust and don't see any benefits to embracing Web3? After all, we are creating a blockchain for creators. It cannot succeed unless we can get these traditional artists and art organizations across all forms of media to actually come on board. So our challenge is, and the solution really, is to build an ecosystem that is designed from the ground up to benefit creators. We have to address those problems. The 5 problems I alluded to are the top problems, but there's a lot more problems also. But you know what? Any entrepreneur will tell you that when there is a problem, there is an opportunity. That is what this is. This is an opportunity for us to solve big problems with a compelling and a very, very focused solution that actually makes the world sit up and take notice and puts us on the map in terms of successful blockchain protocols. So that's what I want to do. This is what Vitruveo is about. It is about building an ecosystem that is designed from the ground up for creators and to solve the problems that exist today. So let's talk about how this solution is going to come to play. When I think about this solution, I think about it at 2 levels. And in each of those levels, I think about it in 2 parts. So the first level is the protocol. So we will have built-in features in our protocol that address some of these problems. In addition, we will also have some special smart contracts that are deployed at Genesis with this protocol that address and are part of the solution set. So that's one layer. The second layer is the ecosystem. So we'll have a collection of web and mobile dApps, and we will have various programs and incentives that together create and elevate this ecosystem. So the solution isn't any one thing. Just having a protocol with rebasing isn't a solution. We need to have the full package. We need to have thought through this from the bottom up. You know, I like to think about Apple as an example as I'm going through this. If you think about the Apple ecosystem, it's a vertically integrated ecosystem, right? They start at the chip level, the manufacturing of it, the manufacturing of the product. They manufacture the operating system and design and develop that. They develop the apps and the standards around that. They have an app store where third-party developers can contribute their apps, which are reviewed for quality and then put on there. So that's a vertically integrated ecosystem. And the reason a vertically integrated ecosystem has benefits is that you've thought through all aspects, all layers of the problem space, and you have a solution for that. So when you think about this solution that I'm presenting here, you have to think like that. We are creating a vertically integrated ecosystem for creators, a lot of whom don't even know some of the things we are talking about are possible, but we are going to make them possible. So protocol plus ecosystem together are integral parts of our solution. One without other doesn't work. We need both of them, and we need both of them to function like a well-oiled machine, like all the components of it, right? So let's get into the parts of the solution. So I'm going to start with the protocol. We'll talk about the built-in features, and we'll talk about the special smart contracts. What do we have here that will incentivize and attract creators to come to Vitruveo and use our solution? So the solution for the protocol, I've created a simple box diagram. The actual implementation of it is quite complex, but for the purpose of our discussion this afternoon, these boxes are adequate. So on the left, you see early adopter rewards. So this is a protocol feature. This is a repositioning of and an easier way to explain what is rebasing. So we'll get into that in a second. So that's built into the protocol. And then straddling the protocol, but sort of above it a little bit, are these special smart contracts. So smart contracts are programs that run on top of a blockchain protocol. I don't know why they're called smart contracts, because they're neither smart nor contracts, but they're really programs that have fixed code in them, fixed business rules in them that are executed. So in this solution, I'm proposing two special smart contracts that are sort of privileged in the protocol. Most smart contracts, they run on top of the protocol and they have no special privileges. They're all equal. But because we own the protocol, we build the protocol, we code the protocol, we can create special smart contracts and give them certain privileges. So there's two of them. The first is called creator base, and the second is called asset base. And what I'd like to do is walk you through these features here and talk about them in terms of benefits. I can think of 6 benefits. So let's walk through each of those and see how they work. So let's start with the first one, early adopter rewards. So as I mentioned, that's a way to say rebasing. So here's how that works. Some of you may be familiar with this, but it's a good refresher. So what happens is every 24 hours, if the transaction goals for the protocol, which we set at Genesis, they're already set, defined. Here are the goals. Every 24 hours, here's how many transactions you must have. If those goals are met, a quote-unquote rebase occurs. Rebase is, in plain English or in plain financial terms, compound interest. It's just a fancy way of saying that you have compound interest when you put money into your savings account and it grows over time. It's just like that. Where the rebase occurs, every wallet, regardless of what account it's in, the balance compounds at an APR of 32%. That's what we're working with right now. And that continues to happen until we hit a cap of 250 million tokens. That's the maximum that'll happen. So the rebasing in this protocol is really a way to say they are early adopter rewards. They're early adopter rewards because it's finite, right? The rebasing is going to stop once we get from the initial 50 million tokens to 250 million tokens. So let's say that takes around 5 years. Maybe it takes 4, maybe it takes 6. We don't know that because it's performance driven. But let's estimate that it takes 5 years. So this essentially is a way to reward early adopters in the first 5 years of this protocol. We're building this protocol for a very long lifespan. It's not just something that we are doing for a couple of years. We're doing it for many, many, many decades, right? So early adopters in the first 5 years or less, depending on how well we perform and how quickly the 250 million cap is reached, are going to benefit significantly from this. So in the people who are going to benefit are creators. So we will, through, as you will see as part of this presentation here, make incentives available to creators to get them on our protocol. And as part of that, they'll have tokens. And those tokens will grow, will rebase, will have compound interest, just like your tokens would. So if you're an investor and you have tokens, then those are going to grow. So that's the same way. So that is one significant benefit, right? Let's look at the next benefit. So just to repeat one more thing there. So in addition to the compound interest, there's also going to be incentive pools. So we have incentive pools set up for investors, and there's going to be a follow-up presentation where we talk more in detail about that. But we'll also have incentive pools for creators. We want to encourage people who are sitting on the sidelines right now, who are not yet in Web3, to come on board and say, like, come on, this is designed for you. We've eliminated all the problems. We've optimized things for you. We made it super simple. So come on board here. So that's what early adopter rewards is about. The next benefit I want to talk about is creator verification. If you go back to my problem number 1, I said there's no creator or artwork verification. So it follows that we need to do that on our protocol. So how do we do that? So creator verification, the way it works is that we will implement a multi-level KYC, know your customer, for all creators with standards-based results in the creator-based special smart contract I told you. So you can think of that creator base as a smart contract that is sort of a collection or a directory, if you will, of every creator on the platform, and we'll have them go through KYC. Now, we can have the KYC at different levels, where something could be as simple as, oh, we verified your mobile number, and that's a real basic KYC. But we could also have higher level KYC, which is the kind of KYC you go through potentially when you sign up an exchange or something like that, where it verifies that you are in fact a person, and it looks for a government issued ID, and so on and so forth. So just to be clear, we are not saying that all creators need to be doxxed. We're just saying that their identity needs to be verified. So it's possible for us to keep their identity undoxxed, but still that they are verified. So this adds an element of trust that's really, really important. So creator verification will be a part of this. Now, as we talk about the solutions in here, you're going to see repeatedly that everything we talk about is very standards-based. In the world of Web 2 right now, the W3C, the World Wide Web Consortium, has developed a new standard. It's called verifiable credentials. So guess what? The creators that we bring on board and the verification that we do, their credentials that we put into our smart contracts will conform to this verifiable credentials standard. So in this standard, there are issuers, there are holders, and then there are verifiers, and there's a registry. So you can think of our creator base contract as being that registry, of us as Vitruveo as being the issuer of a credential, and then the artist or the creator are the holders. The great thing, the amazing feature about this verifiable credentials is an issuer can issue them, but anyone can verify them and see for themselves that the claims made by the holder of that verifiable credential are in fact true. So we will have standards-based creator verification. So let me just scroll up here a bit. All right. So the question comes, like, why do we even need this, right? So there are three reasons why I think it's important for us to have this. The first is it reduces the instances of fraud. If we are trying to create an ecosystem that is based on artworks, and some of them or many of them will be high value, if you want to incentivize the best music stars, if you want to incentivize the best movie makers, etc., to build on this platform, we need to make sure that we do everything possible to reduce instances of fraud. And the best way to reduce fraud is to nip it in the bud and make sure that the potential creators who will publish artworks, etc., have been checked out. So we know that they are not going to commit fraud. This inspires confidence for buyers, and it increases the overall trust in the ecosystem. And that's really, really important. All right. So the next benefit is standards compliant metadata. You're going to hear me say standards compliant a lot because I feel like if you're going to be really successful in this, we need to reach back to the existing world of Web 2 and look at what they have done and implement those things in Web 3 versus trying to constantly reinvent the wheel. It doesn't make sense to reinvent the wheel when the world has already adopted a standard. So that's where standards compliant metadata comes into play. So metadata is information about something. In the world of NFTs right now, metadata is made up. It's completely fictional. You can create an artwork and you can make up whatever metadata you want. You can have a PFP project, for example, and you can have things like traits on there. You can have like hats and noses and ears and all that. But when it comes to artwork, uh, you can have attributes like who's the artist who created it, what date was it created, what location was it created in, what category of art is it, what media was used, etc. Those kind of things would be useful for an artwork, but guess what? They don't exist. No one's done it. There's no standard for it. We are going to implement a standard. So the way we are going to do this is requires us to take a step back and look at the architecture of this platform. So what we're going to have on our platform is an asset consignment registry. It's a mouthful, but let me explain to you in plain English. What it means is a creator consigns, meaning hands over their work into a specialized registry. It's a smart contract. It's that asset-based smart contract you see highlighted in here. And they pay a fee. That fee is initially subsidized by the DAO. We'll talk about that fee in just a moment. You can think of this almost like, registering a domain name. Like when you go register a domain name right now, you pay a registrar a fee, and that domain is yours for the amount of time that fee is valid. Like, so if you do it annually, it's valid for 12 months and so on. So think about it that way. If you're an artist, you consign your work to our asset consignment registry, and you pay a fee. And that artwork is now active there for that period of time. Now, if you are already in Web3 and you've published some NFTs or whatever, you're probably thinking of the term mint. This is not that. We are not asking anyone to create an NFT or anything like that at the point where you're consigning your work. This is more aligned with what happens in the real world right now with artists and galleries. Let's say that an artist has a pre-existing relationship with an art gallery. When they create a new work of art, they take it and they consign it to the gallery. What that really means is saying, I'm done with my part. You need to market and sell this for me. And that's why I'm consigning it to you under the terms of some agreement. And what the gallery then does is they mark it up a lot, and they sell it, they keep a healthy profit, and they give the artist some money back. So consignment is just that. You're handing it over for the purpose of something to occur. So in this case, it's an on-chain consignment. The artist is giving us their artwork. And keep in mind, I say artwork. It could be visual art. It could be a song. It could be a movie. It could be a book. We don't constrain ourselves. And in fact, that term asset is very deliberately chosen for that reason. It's just something of value. It's intellectual property of value. It's an asset. So they consign it to the artwork and they pay the fee. Now, let's talk about that fee. So as I mentioned, it's similar to domain and ENS names. In order for an asset to remain active, an asset consignment fee must be paid. So if you've paid a fee for a year, then that asset is active for a year. Now, those fees are recurring revenue. And here's the kicker. It's divided between the DAO and validators. One of the things that I have been sort of thinking about a lot, and I know a lot of the validators have also been thinking, is how can we have recurring income in perpetuity? And so far, there were only a couple of vectors we had, right? We had gas fees, we had tokens and all kinds of incentive tokens, etc. But in order for something to exist in perpetuity, there needs to be a constant influx of it. This is it. As this blockchain takes off, we will have more and more creators bring their assets on chain. So we expect in perpetuity to have lots of assets registered into our asset consignment registry. And for every one of them, there's going to be a fee. And a portion of that fee goes to the DAO, and a portion of that fee goes to validators. More about that later. I am not yet ready to go into the economics of it. That's a separate kind of modeling spreadsheet, etc. We'll get into the pricing, etc. But for right now, just know that when someone registers an asset with the asset consignment registry, they pay a fee, and that fee on chain gets divided up among the DAO and validators. All right. Now, we want to incentivize creators to come on board here they are going to look at that asset consignment fee and say, no way, I'm not going to pay for anything, especially for an unproven, untested, unvalidated platform, right? It's brand new. No one knows us. Therefore, what we need to do is that for the foreseeable future, for the first couple of years at least, maybe more, we need to subsidize that fee with a token pool, so that we work out a mechanism by which when artists or creators, they go through the KYC, we give them a few tokens, and those tokens are then used to pay for consigning the assets. It may be that we give them credits instead. So at the end result is that there are tokens that are previously parked enter into circulation, and they enter it as a subsidy, so that creators can freely come on board and experience the benefits of our platform. So it becomes a great revenue stream, and it makes it possible for us to attract the best creators that are out there. Now let's talk about the metadata. Now that we've said this consignment thing, etc., we can get back to what we were actually talking about, which is metadata, right? Now, when you consign an asset as a creator, you will need to provide metadata for that asset. So the metadata could be like, what's the title, who's the creator of it, when was it created, what style or genre it is, what category does it, what country does the creator belong to, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of that. Now, we don't want to make that up. We want to trust professionals to do it. And guess what? The professionals at the Getty Foundation and about several hundred museums in the world got together and they developed a standard, and that standard is called linked art. And in our protocol, we will, for visual artworks, conform to the linked art standards used by museums. So when a creator consigns their asset, they need to provide us data that, think of it as a form. Like linked art, the specification is literally just a form, right? Here are all the fields, and some of them are drop-down choices. Those drop-down choices are called vocabularies. So whenever you have a metadata schema like this, the components of it are called vocabularies. So the museums have agreed on the vocabularies. So when you select, what is the medium of your artwork, there's going to be a drop down, and it's not something you can just type in and say, oh, well, it's canvas or it's stone or whatever. There are hundreds of predefined choices, and that's what makes a standard valuable, because now across many organizations and across many artworks, when someone says that the medium used was X, everyone knows what it is because it's a common vocabulary. So this is important. So let's look at what this data model looks like. And now we're getting into the innards of the architecture of this. I'm going to try and keep it business level, but it's important for you to know that we've thought a lot about this and tried to create something that will stand the test of time. Standing the test of time starts with that word asset, as I alluded to earlier. All right. Now look at that contract on the bottom left, asset base. We'll start our journey there, right? So think of that as a collection of assets that have been consigned to the platform. And that's represented by the big vertical box here. Let me get my cursor here. That's your assets. Now, the first thing an asset has is creators, right? It could have one or more creators. Guess what? Those creators tie back into the creator base that conforms to the W3C verified credentials model. So an asset is going to have creators, which is just a lookup into the creator base. But talking about the metadata, so the metadata is going to be different of artwork it is, right? So if the asset is an artwork, like a visual art, then it's going to have linked art as the metadata standard. If it's music, the standard is called MEAD. That's out there. If it's a movie, there's other standards, etc. So depending on which one it is, we'll implement those standards, but it will always be a standard. It'll always be the same standard that is used by hundreds, maybe even millions of other people. We are not going to reinvent the standard. We want our platform to be conformant with what's out there, so people look at it and go, okay, yeah, I'm familiar with this. This works. So we're going to start off with artworks, visual arts, and then we're going to progress into music and movies and books and things like that. But we We're using visual arts as a proving ground for everything. So the metadata that we have will be on chain. When it's consigned to us, it will conform to the linked art standard. So you're going to ask the question, why? Why do we absolutely need the standards compliant metadata? And I'm hinted a bit about this, but let's just be very clear about it. One of the most important reasons why we want standards compliant metadata is that it makes art discoverable using industry standard tools. There are hundreds, maybe even thousands of tools out there that conform to standards. And if our art consignment registry conforms to that with the metadata, guess what? All the art that's in there is discoverable. You can search by year created. You can search by birthplace of the artist. You can search by medium used, etc. And it's all standard, so it just fits into place. The second point why it's important is, we've all heard this narrative, this phrase, it's just a JPEG. Well, it's not just a JPEG. If you are conforming to certain standards, both quality and data attribute related. Now it's an artwork. It has provenance. It has creation details, and it has other domain specific data that adds value to that. So it's not just here's a JPEG that's on the blockchain. If we do that, we are no better than anybody else. We have not moved the needle at all. We are going to not only move the needle, we are going to blow away the instrument. We are going to go well beyond what anyone has ever imagined so far. So with the standards compliant metadata, we move in that direction. There's another reason why we want that. What this enables is the possibility for bulk licensing and monetization, because when you can easily query a blockchain and say, give me all artworks that are about the ocean, that are created in a lean clear style of drawing, you can instantly get that. And then you can do bulk licensing and bulk monetization. This opens up the possibility of us to go beyond a collector buying one piece of artwork to an industry licensing 100,000 artworks so that they can put it on, curtains or pillowcases or on cars even, or shoes, or whatever consumer product that can be personalized. If you want to be able to do it at scale, you need artworks at scale. And this allows the possibility to easily query and license at bulk. So this is why the standards compliant metadata is extremely important. All right, so we've gotten through 3 benefits for creators. Let's now look at the next one, which is cryptographic media signing. A sip of chai, and then we continue. All right, so this is a mouthful, cryptographic media signing. What does it mean? Well, just like you might sign a legal document, right? You put your signature on it with pen. The same thing is possible, but cryptographically with your private key. So when you have a cryptographic wallet, it has a private key, and you can sign a piece of data, and then any other entity can verify that you signed it with just using a public key. Guess what? Anytime you do a crypto transaction, you're doing that. You're signing a transaction and authorizing perhaps the movement of funds from your account to another account. Anytime you buy something with your crypto wallet, you're signing a transaction. Well, guess what? You can also sign that a media asset is, let's see, we got a little prompt up here. I'm not sure why that appeared. So we can also you can also sign a media asset using your private key. And what that does is communicate that you are the author of that asset. Now, of course, you can do that with any asset, but what we are saying is in this system, based on the rules we've created and the policies we've created, when you consign an artwork over into the asset registry, you, by signing it, say I'm the author, and it also gives a timestamp when you signed it, right? So now anyone can verify that you are in fact the creator. There's another reason why it's important to sign. If an asset is tampered with, if even that single tiny byte in it is changed, the signature becomes invalid. So it's an easy way to see if something is spoofed, forged, etc. And this ensures that it can't be. If it is, you'll know instantly, right? It also provides something called non-repudiation. What that means is once you've signed something, you can't say that, well, I didn't sign that. It's not possible. My signature was forged. It's impossible, because that would mean you gave up your private key to someone else. And you don't do that, right? You don't give your private key to someone else. And so this ensures that creators, when they sign an asset, they take accountability for it. That, yes, I signed it and I posted it on there. So these are important aspects of cryptographic media signing. Let's go on to the next one now, which is durable media storage. So we are at what? The fifth benefit for creators. Now, in the world of NFTs today, as I mentioned earlier, the actual media asset is stored somewhere else. And after you buy it, it's possible for the artist or the creator to go and change that. It's also possible that the asset disappears completely. Why? Let's talk about how IPFS works. IPFS stands for Interplanetary File System. Grandiose name, I know that, but it's considered durable storage. The way it works is anyone can place any file they want on any IPFS node. So, you can just download the software and become an IPFS node. It's very easy to do. Now, your file, once added to IPFS, will continue to exist as long as at least one IPFS node out there has it, the term is called pinned, has it pinned. The moment the last IPFS node that had your asset, your file pinned, deletes it, your asset is lost forever. So if your asset happens to be an NFT and the image or the movie or whatever associated with it, if it goes off from the last server, it's gone forever. We can do better than that. We want to create super durable media storage. And so what we're going to do is that if an asset is consigned to our consignment registry, the DAO will take on responsibility to make sure that there is always an IPFS node available for it. How? Well, we will pay our validators to add to their server, where they're already hosting, right, the protocol, IPFS capability. Not all of them will want to do it. Some of them will say, oh yeah, that sounds good. I just beef it up a little bit more and I'll run an IPFS node also. So by doing that, we can take advantage of our 500 validators and create what will arguably be one of the world's most resilient IPFS networks. So by doing that, the DAO can ensure that our commitment around the asset consignments are there. They are there in perpetuity. When you put an asset onto our platform, it is there forever. So this is very important. And in addition to giving validators an additional income stream, it also ensures that we can truly say that when you put an asset on the VITRUVEO blockchain, it's there forever, So that's an important thing. All right. So we've now gotten through 5 of the benefits, and now we come on to what is last, but probably the most important and the most significant and the most innovative of the benefits that we are going to give to creators. And that is flexible on-chain licensing. Let's talk about it. So what does it mean? Well, we are developing a model where every asset that is consigned to our protocol can have 1 or more licenses. It needs at least 1. You can't have an asset consigned here with 0 licenses. What's the point of it? Don't put it on the blockchain if you don't intend for anyone to access and use it, right? Each of these licenses defines the rights that will be given to whoever licenses it, which is the licensee. It also talks about how many available units there are and the unit price. So now we are addressing one of the problems I raised earlier, is there's no on-chain licensing for NFTs, etc. It's really each instance, you got to figure out what you want to do and do it every time on every marketplace. Very, very loose and very complex, and just not a nice and efficient system. So with our licensing model, each asset can have one or more licenses, and that'll define, okay, this license allows the licensee to do XYZ. Now, how the heck are we going to communicate that? Well, I'm going to get back to my favorite term, standards-based. There is a standard out there called Creative Commons, which is essentially a public good. They have created licenses for just about every scenario, and they are pretty much the gold standard when it comes to content. So we are going to have the creators use Creative Commons licenses to communicate what one can and cannot do with their intellectual property. But we'll also give them the ability to define their own custom licenses as well. So these points make up the flexible on-chain licensing, but there's a lot more to it. Let's deep dive into it now. So going back to my asset data model, if you recollect, an asset is stored in the asset base smart contract, which is our registry, right? And so far we've tackled creators and we've tackled metadata. Now we bolt onto that licenses. So with the asset, a creator can define any number of licenses and say that, okay, looking on the left there, license A, it's a CC by SA. So if you go and look on the Creative Commons website, you will see that the CC by SA is a very specific type of license. It's got very specific legalese. It's got specific rights. And that's what you're communicating with just that short string on there. It also says that there are 20 editions and it's 2 VITRUs for each. So here we go. On-chain, through our asset consignment registry, we have given a creator the ability to define and communicate to other smart contracts the exact terms and conditions under which they can obtain a license for that artwork. No humans needed, no paperwork needed, no applications needed, all smart contract to smart contract. This is a huge deal, folks. So any smart contract can ping our asset consignment registry and request a license. The registry will check if a license is available. So, in my example, it says 20 editions. What if all 20 have been sold? Then 0 are available. So it would fail, right? But if there were any available, it would then check that the appropriate payment has been provided. The ACR knows how much should be paid for that particular license, and you need to supply that when a smart contract calls in for that. If all the checks pass, guess what? The ACR mints a new NFT on the fly and issues a license to the caller, making them a licensee. This model allows anyone on the planet to create a dApp. They can deploy it on Vitruveo, and they can make all the artwork searchable. So maybe you're an expert in oceans, right? You can create a dApp about oceans. Put your knowledge on there. You can query the ACR for different types of oceans using the metadata and create a beautiful store. You can mark up the prices for it. And as long as when the buyer passes the amount required by the creator, you can be issued a license, or you can issue a license to your buyer. So this is dynamic minting. There's no minting until there's a buyer with money who says, I want this. This is on-demand minting of consigned resources. It is new. It doesn't exist anywhere on any blockchain or any smart contract today. We will radically transform how artwork is licensed using this dynamic mint-on-demand on-chain licensing workflow. This applies to all types of assets, not just visual artworks, music tracks, movies, books, you name it. It's a generic model which is highly flexible and which creates the commerce foundation for an infinite number of possibilities. This is what will make our chain, Vitruveo, extremely valuable to the world. We execute this, we get creators on here, and this model works. If you think about the first mover advantages that companies had in Web 2.0, in bringing about the e-commerce revolution, we're going to do that. So think Amazon, think companies like that. We are creating a model for that is on-chain and provides economic opportunity for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. So let's review the benefits. 6 benefits. Early adopter rewards, creator verification. We want to know that the creators are who they say they are. Standards compliance, metadata, make it easy for artworks and other assets to be discoverable. Cryptographic media signing to have authenticity and to have non-repudiation. Durable media storage. So if an artwork's in our registry, it's there in perpetuity. And finally, the part I love the most, flexible on-chain licensing, which brings open a whole new domain of business possibilities. Okay, so we've talked about benefits for creators, right? I also want to spend just a few minutes talking about the benefits for buyers. Let's highlight those. So they actually dovetail very nicely with some of the things we've talked about. So the first thing is, if you're an art buyer, with the metadata, we've given you a versatile art discovery system. We have increased your trust by providing verified creators. Just like we have rewards for creators, we will also give rewards to buyers. So for example, if you are a frequent buyer, like just think about it, a frequent shopper, a frequent airline miles, frequent hotels, etc. When you buy repeatedly, they reward you with points, etc. Well, we're going to reward people with tokens. So if they buy repeatedly, they get some token benefit, and those tokens rebase. So they get buyer rewards. For buyers, we have created a model where the creators can have very flexible licensing models. So it's not a one size fits all. It's not just it's one of one edition. It's 100 Vitruves and that's it. That's all you can buy. Creators have the ability to create many different licensing models to attract many different types of buyers. So the buyer who is looking for a way to get one-of-one art on their consumer product has a different price point in mind. The unit economics is different, right? They don't want to spend $100 on each unit. They might be thinking a penny or a nickel or whatever, because they are thinking a million units, etc. So if you're a creator, you need to appeal to those also, because there is money to be made in volume, right? So flexible licensing is important. The last two we haven't seen yet, but I put them on here because they're important. We want to attract buyers who are not yet in the crypto ecosystem. And so what we will do as a platform is we will provide a non-custodial wallet. So when you use things like MetaMask or Rainbow or Trust or any of the hundreds of thousands of wallets that are out there right now, those are custodial wallets because you know the private key for the account. However, there is also a class of wallets called a non-custodial wallet. And typically a non-custodial wallet works with an email address. Email address people are familiar with, right? They know how to use that everywhere. So we're going to make it easy for a buyer who just has an email address to come to our platform and buy an artwork with just their email. And what we will do is we will hold that artwork in a wallet for them on their behalf. Someday in the future, when they have a custodial wallet like a MetaMask or something, they can just go to the non-custodial wallet and click transfer, provide the address, and poof, it's gone. The resource is gone. So this will make it attractive for people who don't understand crypto, who don't want the friction, etc., to come to our platform. The last thing that we're going to provide as a benefit for buyers is credit card payments. If you are a developer in this space right now, you know how incredibly difficult it is to integrate credit card payments with your dApp. It's really difficult. What we are going to do at the protocol level is we are going to guarantee people, developers who are building on our platform, credit card access. So instead of each developer trying to go and sign up with Stripe or whoever, we are just going to negotiate terms with the gateway, and we will assume part of that risk as the protocol, and we will make it possible for dApp developers that go through some qualification process. It's not just going to be a free for all, but they go through some qualification process, and we will make credit card payments available to them. So this makes it possible to incentivize people who are not yet in crypto to get on board and use a payment mechanism they're used to in order to transact commercially on our platform. So those are the benefits for buyers. Now, let's move on to the rest of our solution. When I started off with this, I said the solution is in 2 tiers, right? Protocol, which has 2 parts, the built-in features and the special smart contracts. Now, after 38 slides, I hope you feel confident about the fact that our protocol is going to have some kick-ass features and some kick-ass smart contracts in order to make this happen. But let's talk about the rest of it, ecosystem. So we are not going to be able to have creators come on board, etc., unless they can interact with the platform. Now, so far I've talked about smart contracts and things like that, right? And protocol. That's kind of like the underpinning, the foundation level. But if there are not apps that people can pull up in their browser or on their mobile phone as an app, it's opaque. It might as well not exist. So this is why it's important for us that we provide some core and ecosystem dApps. The analogy for it exists. When you get an Android phone or you get an iPhone, you take photos, those photos end up in a Photos app. It's built in. It's guaranteed to be built in, because how else could you manage your photos, right? So that Photos app, the calculator app, the alarm clock app, you could go find alternatives on there, but the platform always comes with them. So those are core and ecosystem dApps. That's what those are. So we have the same thing. We want to attract creators. So we, as a DAO, are going to maintain certain dApps and provide them out of the box to creators and make sure that they are well managed, well designed, user friendly, and just overall address the needs of creators. We're also going to have a lot of programs and incentives to welcome creators into the space. So that's what I mean by when I say ecosystem. So let's get into core and ecosystem dApps first. So the core dApps, as I mentioned, are integral to the success of the Vitruveo protocol. They are fully managed by the platform team of the DAO Technology Council. That's the place where the people who will manage it will be. So I'd like to introduce you to 3 core dApps: the Vitru Studio, the Vitru Hub, and the Vitru Stream. These 3 are super critical to our success. Let's look at them. Vitru Studio is a dApp that is used by creators to register their assets to the asset consignment registry. Now you know what an asset is. You know what the consignment registry is. The question is, how's the creator going to register the asset? Well, they need an app for that, right? And that's Vitru Studio. So in addition to allowing them to manage the licenses, so for example, they could go in there and add a license. Maybe they want to change a license, if it hasn't yet been executed. They want to update the metadata potentially. So there are certain things that will be allowed and certain things that won't be allowed, because at the end of the day, there are certain things that should be immutable, and those will be immutable. But then there's certain things that could be changed, and we'll allow that to change. So think of Vitru Studio as the creator's environment for managing their presence in Vitruveo with all their assets, etc. Part of Vitru Studio is also the ability to define new and interesting and interactive and dynamic types of collectibles. We don't want to just continue to have sort of a static approach to collectibles, like here's an artwork or here's a video, that's it. What we want to do is do more interactive and interesting things. I'll give you an example. Like, what if a group of creators got together and they put in, like, let's say there's 10 of them, and they put in 10 photos as part of like the asset collection, right? And their license model is that you can buy any 4 of them for a certain price. So what would the UI for that look like? Well, at the time the buyer was buying, they could go and choose which ones they wanted and then hit mint. So that's a dynamic type of collectible. That doesn't exist anywhere right now, but we could make that happen. So that's what I mean by interactive and dynamic types of collectibles. We want to innovate and have new and exciting ways in which people can consume artworks. All right, the next core DApp is called Vitru Hub. So Vitru Studio is for creators. Vitru Hub is for buyers and appreciators and collectors of art. Think of it as an application that uses faceted search. By faceted search, it's just a fancy way of saying, search based on the different metadata fields, like search by category, genre, country, style, time, whatever. So being able to search by that to discover artworks and then buy them. So think of Vitru Hub as sort of the sales engine for the whole registry of artworks, the entire pool of artworks that are there. Anyone can go in there, search them very granularly, not just by keywords, by very specific things, and maybe even take that whole collection of results that came up and buy them at one shot. One click, boom, done. You've bought all the ones that matched your search. So this is an exciting tool. Nothing like this exists right now. All the marketplaces, etc., have a one kind of model where artists list something and a collector comes and buys it. They don't have anything that can do it in bulk like this, where you can choose licenses, you can choose facets, query it, and then make a decision based upon that. And so Vitru Hub will be unique and interesting in that way. And the third one, and really, honestly, my most desired kind of DApp is Vitru Stream. So I'm a prolific sort of NFT collector. I have probably 6,000 or so of them. And it's really challenging to be able to display them on screens like the one behind me, because we don't have good metadata, we don't have good tools. And I'm determined that with Vitru Stream, we're going to address that problem. So what Vitru Stream will do is serve many different industry and use cases in bringing to life the Spotify for artworks. Imagine being able to create playlists for artworks. Whatever you want, like just go choose the parameters, just like you go to Spotify and say, artist, album, genre, whatever. You can choose whatever combination of things you want, generate a playlist, and have it displayed on your Apple TV or your Google TV or any kind of dedicated display. There are now many, many different NFT displays coming into the market. We will provide a mechanism for people to subscribe to streams of artworks and get glorious, beautiful artwork on their walls in their living room. So Samsung has a nice device called the Frame. It's a very sort of artwork-like device. It mounts flat on your wall. It even has a beautiful wooden frame. I have it, but I look at the subscription they have at artwork, and it is, first of all, the UI is terrible, and it is really, really not that exciting. I dream of the day where I can just have a Vitru Stream hooked up so my living room can display amazing artwork from artists all over the world with an on-the-fly kind of licensing model. So that's what Vitru Stream will be. We will be able to have as customers, office complexes, hotels, any kind of scenarios where you want to display art in different kind of locales. And you want to be able to do it in a very flexible manner and in a very cost-efficient manner, and without having to go through all kinds of complicated legal contracts and etc. Come to Vitru Stream, make a few clicks. We'll have an Apple TV app. We'll have a Google app on the Play Store, etc. You can even just download the app and use it, and it gets billed straight to your Apple subscription or whatever. That's the kind of thing that is possible because we have the asset consignment registry with a flexible licensing model. This Vitru Stream wouldn't be possible without it, but it is the result of that. All right, so those are sort of the core dApps. Let's look at the ecosystem dApps. So there are 3 ecosystem dApps that we are going to bring. 2 of them, well, all 3 of them are already done and working. We just have to shape them a bit. The first one is called Poet, the second one Art Packs, and the third one dApp Starter. Let's look at all of them. So Poet stands for Proof of Engagement Token. You might have heard of POAP on Ethereum and other networks. So Poet is the answer to that on Vitruveo. We want to make it easy for any event and community organizers to reward their audience So, people showing up on the stream right now, it would be great if, Chris or the others issued a token. You attended a stream on this day. And if you attend 10 streams or whatever, you might be eligible for a cooler badge or something like that. So it's gamifying attendance. It's gamifying and rewarding your audience for doing desirable things. So with proof of engagement token, we've taken the POAP model and we put it on steroids. We first of all added a programmatic API to that. We've also added secure content to it. So let's say that you host a meetup and people show up. When they get back, they get a poet dropped into their wallet, and that poet allows them to go visit your website and look at a premium video that you have. That's content exclusively available to them. Or you could make it where you've attended maybe some event, and as a result, you are now eligible to attend another event. And so you just go with your phone and you scan that you have that poet, and you're in. So token gating is what it's called, is a big thing. And we will make it possible out of the box, very simple, very easy, and scale it up. So this is going to be a great feature and will help us drive more and more users to use the platform. Remember, we've got the rebasing that is transaction driven. So we want to create opportunities for more people to use the platform and not just transfer funds back and forth, to actually engage. So Poet is one of those things where we can essentially have academia, business, consumers, all kinds of sports, entertainment, etc., use this in order to engage. We obviously want to start with the creator ecosystem, so museums, galleries, etc. If you came for an art exhibition, you get a poet, and now that gives you a discount on something, things like that. The next app is Artpacks. Now, Artpacks was launched recently. It's launched through my other DAO, Nifty Dreams. And what we are trying to do there is redefine how art is purchased and experienced by both experienced and inexperienced collectors. So what we did was we took the NBA Top Shot model of packaging sort of NFTs into a secret pack, and you don't know what you have until you open the pack. So that's Artpacks. So starting with drop number 7, which I believe is mid-October, we're going to bring Artpacks to Vitruveo. And the first drop is going to be one called Womanhood, which is focused on women in the artworks. So we'll start there, and we make it easy and exciting for art to be collected. Well, guess what? Artpacks relies on the consignment model, so everything fits in beautifully, and we'll bring in a new way for people to learn about and collect art. So it's going to be as simple as come to the Artpack site when there's a drop, whip out your credit card, buy a pack, and you get 5 amazing artworks dropped into your wallet. And then we'll have some challenges there. So maybe you have to collect 5 artworks from artists from South America or something like that. So then you go and buy more packs and do a little bit of gamification. You might do a little bit of trading, etc., things like that. So we allow that to happen. And last but not the least, we do want to make it easy for developers to build on our platform. So dAppStarter is a code generator. And what it'll do is it'll allow us to take a modular approach to produce full stack code and tooling, so developers can quickly build their dApp and extend its functionality. So we'll provide all the modules. They can put together a dApp very quickly to interact with the asset consignment registry. So anyone can build a dApp that's for buying artworks or streaming artworks and things like that. So that's what the dAppStarter platform will do. All right. So now coming to the latter part of the ecosystem, which is programs and incentives. This is the part that we're going to give a lot of thought through the ecosystem council. So I don't have a whole lot on it today. I have one slide, but I do want to talk about it. So as a DAO, we will design, plan, fund, and manage various programs, either directly or in collaboration with other organizations to advance creator interests globally. So there are hundreds of nonprofits, hundreds of for-profits, museums, galleries, etc. There's all kinds of events, etc. We will be welcoming to them, and we will collaborate with them and have joint ventures where we create programs to incentivize artists, creators, etc., to join our platform. Those could take the form of grants, workshops, exhibitions, meetups, conferences, just challenges on X, scholarships to creators, etc. So there's a lot of different tools we'll have at our disposal to incentivize creators. We will set aside significant token allocations to subsidize and incentivize creators to onboard to VITRUVEO. You have to think of this as like a flywheel. So as you know, with a flywheel, it takes a little bit of time to get going. But once it gets going, a flywheel just picks up energy and goes faster and faster and faster. We are creating that flywheel for creators. So initially, to get that flywheel going, we have to incentivize people with token allocations. And so we've set those aside, we'll subsidize them, and we'll get them on board. But once they see the value and the benefits of the platform, they'll stay, and then they'll spend money, and then they'll call their friends. And that makes the flywheel go faster and faster. And that's kind of what we are doing. All right, now let's switch gears a little bit and address two very important questions. I get asked this all the time. And the questions are about, well, what's the big deal? Why is VITRUVEO so different? So let's answer those questions. So I answer the question in two ways. I answer it first in regard to what's the protocol about. That's everything on chain, right? The blockchain. So guess what? I just talked about a lot of those things. Let's re-emphasize them. Creator verification. This is important. This is different. It doesn't exist anywhere else. Early adopter rewards, or rebasing as you know it. Important. Standards compliant metadata. Doesn't exist anywhere else. We'll be the first to do it. An asset consignment registry, a global, let's say universal asset consignment registry for all media types maintained at the blockchain level. Licensing that's fluid, dynamic, and flexible. And payments that are also flexible. You don't have to just do crypto payments. You can do credit card payments. Licensee tracking. I didn't talk much about this, but because the asset consignment registry issues licenses, we also have a mechanism to easily track if someone is a licensee of a particular asset. It's a big deal, and it makes our protocol unique and very different. So that's on-chain. But remember when I started off, I said that our solution is not just on-chain. It cannot be just on-chain. It is ecosystem-wide. And so the second half of this question can be answered by, how is this different in terms of the ecosystem? Well, it's some of the things I just talked about. We're going to have creator incentives and token grants. We will have workshops and programs to onboard organizations like museums, galleries, etc., to help them understand how Web3 works and how they can bring their creators onto our platform. We'll do that for independent creators also. We'll have workshops for them. We have a dedicated DAO council for creators. So that's it. That council is completely and totally focused on creators. This is not something you'll find anywhere else. This is what makes us unique and different. We will also make, through the DAO, dedicated marketing resources available for creators. Marketing is one of the biggest challenges that creators face. They don't know how to do it. They don't have the money for it, but it's essential in order for them to succeed. Well, we'll help them out with it. We will provide shared marketing resources. And finally, we will host exhibitions, events, and conferences, as I alluded to earlier, in order to essentially get the message out there about what we are doing and why people should come and build on our platform. So that, folks, is how we are going to build and promote and grow the creator economy. What I presented to you here today is a complete blueprint for exactly how we are going to do it. Now we're going to execute on it, piece by piece, step by step, dap by dap, code by, line by line of code. We're going to work on this and get it done. So this is how we will radically transform how artwork is licensed and, change the world. So that's my presentation for tomorrow. I invite the